Welcome, everyone. This is Liz Faircloth. Excited to have everyone on to today's webinar. We're just waiting a few minutes. Dr. Diana, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you able to share your?
I'm not. It says you've stopped my video, my sharing.
Okay. I'm not sure why, but that
Okay.
should be good now, hopefully.
There we
Hello.
go.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good
Thanks
to
so
see
much
you
for
again.
having me. This is fun
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, excited to have you here, and it was a pleasure meeting you a few weeks ago. So thank you for
Yes.
your time, and thanks everyone for joining us. We're a few minutes early, but we're just going to wait for everyone to join us. If you're you're joining us, we'd love to hear your name, where you're calling in from, just so everyone can get connected. And we do these webinars twice a month, so we appreciate everyone being here and excited to jump into today's really powerful topic. So, but yeah, you're getting acclimated. Please share in the chat box who you are, where you're calling in from, and what you're looking to get. What are you looking to learn today too? That's always a good question to ask when we go to any webinar. We do anything at the investor community, is to be intentional, right, with what we do. So
That's always how I start things too. I love it, Liz, because, what is the intention? I certainly have an intention of being here to, have women understand that it's possible to age with good health. So it's just wanting to know what people's intention is certainly helpful.
so helpful. I'm currently at the Bigger Pockets conference here in Orlando, and I feel like every time I have a meeting, every time I go into a session, the time I spoke, it's just like, what's my intention here? What am I looking to give? And so I'm really clear, right? So, hi, Miranda from Northern California. Where are you out of again?
West Michigan, so Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's right. You're by Margot. That's right.
That's right. So yeah, we've become good friends over the years. We have a lot of fun.
You prefer Dr. Diana or Dr. Bitner? What would your preference be?
I mean, Dr. Bitner or Diana. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I say the right thing.
Appreciate it.
All right, welcome everyone. We're gonna get started here soon. We're a couple minutes early, but as you're joining us, my name is Liz. I'm the co-founder of the InvestHer community, and we're gonna get started here in a moment. But love for you to share your name, where you're calling in from, and what your intention is today. We're talking about health is wealth, and it is so true, right? But we don't always do the things we need to do to keep ourselves healthy. So that's what we're excited about today. But please share in the chat box here. My screen has gotten frozen.
It was funny. I was talking to a patient today, and she said it's hard to take advice from doctors who are not healthy. So she said, I really appreciate that you practice what you preach. And, no matter what we do, we're busy people. We've got a lot going on. So it's so important to have intention and a plan and know what works. So you can keep doing what you love to do.
That's the truth, right? Because you don't realize how important health is until something happens. That's just the nature of it. Hey, Belinda, one of our Strive members. All right, I'm gonna give me a second here. I'm having a hard time. Something going with my PowerPoint here. All right, there we go. Good then. Okay, sorry, but everyone, just bear with me here. I'm just okay. All right. So I'm gonna get started here, everyone, so we can start on time, end on time. Thank you again so much, Diana, for being here. I'm gonna I just have a few quick slides to share. I think I had those streaming in the back, but it's always helpful to just share very quickly who we are. If you're new to the InvestHer community, I'd love for you to put new in the chat box. Oh, hey, Joanne. Long time no see. We miss you, Joanne. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen your name in a while. It's good to see you from South Jersey. And hey, Missy from Michigan as well. Awesome. So a little bit about the InvestHer community. If you're new or if you've been with us since we've started, just wanted to share like a little bit what we're up to. We're doing a lot of exciting things in the community. And of course, my screen is getting locked and I don't know why. But bear with me here. I'm usually on my other computer, but I'm traveling, so I'm not sure what's going on here. All right, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to ad lib here. We're going to do it this way. And I'm just going to briefly share a little bit about the community. Hopefully you can see my one screen. It just has everything on the left-hand side. I'm just going to bounce through those just to share a little bit more about the investor community before we bring Dr. Bitner on and talking about health as wealth. And just I'll share a little bit of background about her in a moment. But a couple quick things. So we have a Facebook community. For those who are not familiar, we have a very safe place. All Facebook communities are great, but I'm biased. Our Facebook community is really a safe place that women can give and get information and, posting questions, not just about real estate, but about business, about health, about self-care, because it's all connected. And we really stand for that. Our meetups here on the left hand, I'm just going to go through a few things about us for those who are new. We have 50 plus meetups across the country. And the purpose of these meetups is really to come together with the local women in the local community, so you can kind of be each other's support and make sure you're supporting each other in your journey. And if we don't have a meetup, or if we do have a meetup, if you don't have a meetup, we can always, we're looking to launch more. If we do have a meetup, please join the next one. We also have an investor org, which is through EXP Realty. And this is an arm of our business that's all about women agents who are active in the business, but they're also looking to build their wealth. And that's really important to us as a passion of ours more agents need to be also investing too. We do at least 2 free webinars a month, which is one of these. And we do those through our 3 pillars, which is real estate investing, which is a way to wealth, business, because you can't treat that investing as a hobby, and self-care, which is really the pillar that we're focused on for today's webinar. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, as we were just saying, right, you can't, all the wealth in the world is not going to matter. We do our Investor Con once a year. We are doing it June 2nd through 4th in Austin, Texas. So we'd love for you to join us. We have 30 plus speakers, 40 companies come, 500 women, all supporting each other on the journey of investing. And then we also have our Strive mentorship program. I'm just going to move to that quickly because there is a QR code, just because I'm having to piecemeal this a little bit because I can't advance. This is our mentorship program, where we are women 5 to 10 deals or more who are looking to scale, but not just scale for scale's sake, but to do it in a really intentional and mindful way with other women around them, supporting them. This is Fatima is our strategic business coach. So if you do have 5 to 10 deals and you're looking for some coaching, some support, no strings attached, nothing else has to happen after that. She will help you figure out, where do you want to go? Where are you? And what might be some action steps to help you get there. She's phenomenal. And that's a QR code to book a call. I know her schedule gets really tied up, so I would highly recommend, literally, it's a free coaching call and support for the women looking to scale. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing because my not working anyway, my screen share. So we got a chance to meet Dr. Bitner at a recent conference. And it was, Margot, who's a phenomenal human being. And we really were so moved by what she had to say around health. And I'm not going to even give it justice, so I'm going to give you the floor as quickly as possible. But we were so moved by what you stand for. And Dr. Bitner, I'm just going to share a few things. She's a distinguished board certified OBGYN, and she has over 2 decades of experience. She really talks about what the body demands, and especially has such a wealth of knowledge around what serves women, obviously, and what, especially for the women that we're serving, what's coming up for them, and how do we really, really focus on our health. So much that I need to learn from you. And I'm so excited to have you here. And I just really appreciate your time so much, and just pumped to learn. And thank you for your time so much. So I'm going to give you the floor, and we're looking forward to learning from you.
My pleasure. I'm so glad to be here. And this has just become a passion of mine and ours at True Women's Health, is how can we reach as many women as possible? Because, as I'll say, it's not okay that I know more about your ovaries or your body or your function than you do. And while our approach, is very personalized, a lot of this information can be used across the board. So again, our goal is that we reach out to as many as possible. And so in that vein, everyone who's on the call, please feel free to interrupt. I've got the chat box open. Feel free to ask any questions and sort of direct things. And, my intention today is that when you leave this, that you have a better sense of um, that is possible. It's possible to age with health no matter what's going on. Everybody's got something that's hard. Everybody has a health issue. If you don't, of course, awesome. I hope you never do. But most of us have something that maybe is difficult. And so I want you to know a lot of basics about how do hormones impact this. So, a little bit more just to set the stage for my background is I'm an OBGYN and I'm 57. I've been in practice for a while, delivered lots of babies, done surgeries for years. And in the last couple of years, I'm mainly just focusing on health and prevention, midlife menopause, and sexual health. And so how I got into this is that women would ask me in the office, why am I gaining weight? Why am I anxious? My life is great. Why do I feel, anxious? And I would be like, I don't know. I can deliver a baby. I can deal with heavy bleeding, but I'm not really equipped. I don't have the knowledge to help you. So I went to a women's health conference and was just blown away about what is known. And so just teaching myself from what's out there, how I could understand it for me, but then better teach it to others. All of this was born. And so what do they say? Frustration is the mother of invention, right? And so having said that, I didn't know how to teach it. So I taught myself. And again, now here we are. And so having said that, I put together a whole wellness profile. I think about health like you would a financial plan. So you go to a financial planner, you go to Fatima, do I say her name right? Your coach,
Yeah.
you say, hey, I want to reach this net worth. I want to create generational wealth. And so she says, okay, well, how much have you created? How many deals do you have? How much wealth have you generated so far? Well, there's a gap, right? And so she might say, okay, what are your habits? What are you doing, right? Let's make a strategy. So I like to do that same thing for women around their health. So if I were in front of you or you're looking at our materials, it would be, what do you want? What is your picture of self at a particular event? So let's say it's a 50th birthday. Let's say it's a child's graduation from middle school. It's, whatever your next milestone event is, really picture how you want to be at that event and think about, okay, how do I want to feel? What do I want to wear? How do I want to feel in my body? And so we really want women to get in touch with, what is that dream? What does it feel like to feel like you? So many women will say, I just want to feel like myself. Okay, let's pick that apart. Let's define that. So I would ask all of you out there, if you're like me at all, you've got pencil and paper or a computer screen ready to go, or even a phone to write some notes. I would love you to think about, what is your picture of self? How do you picture yourself in the future at an event? And so again, in a financial plan, you're going to break that down with very specifics, and you'll set maybe some metrics for yourself and a schedule for yourself. How I like to think about health is we like to break it down into 9 different areas of wellness. And I pulled up our workbook, which I'm looking at here. So I'm a list girl, so I always start with A. What is your ability to be active? So at that milestone event, how active do you want to be? I want to be able to ski. I want to be able to do everything, in terms of stay active. I want to be able to work out. I want to be able to, I have my own particular desires for activity. It's then to think, am I doing that now or not? And if not, what's my barrier? We think about B is body composition and risk for obesity. So how do you want to feel in your skin? How do you want to feel in your body? And also then, how do you want to be in terms of your muscle mass, your body fat? And so where do you want to be? Where are you now? We look at a barrier and then we move from there. C is cancer risk. D is diabetes. E is ease of coping. F is phase of ovarian function. G is good bones. H is heart disease. And I is income security. So it's all about making sure that you're setting your goals in those categories, and then we're looking at where you are now. So just a quick check-in. I want to see, I just see a screen that says real estate invest. Are we still, we're good? We're live? I see there's 29
Oh yeah,
people.
we're still good. I just want to make sure you had the spotlight, and I
Oh, I
took myself
appreciate
off.
that. Okay, it's
Yeah,
good. I
no,
just want to
I'm
make sure
still
we're
here
still
for
good.
you. I'm still
Yes, okay,
good.
good. Oh, I see the thumbs up. Thank you. So, having said that, I like to think about that. So it's to really go through these different categories and think about your health checklist. Because again, I love the title today, Health is Wealth. And so if we think about, again, our ability to be active, our body composition, what do all those different aspects look like? And just know that it is possible to age as you wish, thinking about what your barriers are and how we can get around those. So again, it's such a joy to see women all the time in terms of, I couldn't work out because I had pain, because I couldn't sleep, because I had anxiety, because I didn't know what to do. And it's working around those barriers to say, hey, we can help with that. Here's some information, just like Fatima would for deal development. And so in terms of obesity or body composition, so many women will come in as weight is an issue. And that could be when she's 20, right after her first couple years at college. It could be when she's 30 and after maybe she's had a baby, or and there's so much around this that we're just learning in terms of people's family history, in terms of her insulin resistance, in terms of how much muscle mass does she have? What is her body fat percentage? So it's doing that deep dive. So I could talk about that forever. So please, any questions. But usually the next part of it is I want women to really understand how their phases of ovarian function affect their ability to have what they want in each one of those categories. And so what we talk about is these phases, every woman will go through them. So if everything goes well, most women stay in reproductive phase until they're about 42. Reproductive phase means that periods or cycles are very regular. They're between 28 and 32 days. There's a normal light period, and there's minimal symptoms, hopefully, but people just have really regular cycles and they feel normal. They know what to expect. They know, if they might get a menstrual migraine, they might get a little bit cranky, a little PMS, but it's pretty regular, it's pretty expected, and hopefully it's not necessarily a big deal. Now, there can be concerns with all that if you're prone to menstrual migraines. If you have significant mood change, we call that PMDD, again, then we address that. As women move through their phase of ovarian function, the next phase would be perimenopause. Perimenopause can be easy for some, but for some women, it can really affect the quality of their life. It tends to start when a woman's around 42. So, let's say you're 30 and listening to this, it's something to know about in the sense of, what's coming, it's down the road, and just know that the healthier you are before it hits, the less likely it is to disrupt your life. So perimenopause is when cycles become irregular. And it's when cycles start to change. They might get shorter, they might get farther apart. And when they happen, they might be lighter, periods might be heavier. Those periods tell the story. Let's say you have an IUD or you had a hysterectomy, and periods aren't what can sort of tell you what's going on. Common symptoms that occur are more mood change, headaches that happen, let's say, before a period starts, sleep disruption, maybe night sweats. And the confusing thing about perimenopause is that everything can be nice and regular, and then it changes for 3 to 4 months, and then it changes again, and then it's irregular again. So for nothing else, I want you to know that this is normal. Perimenopause is a hormonal roller coaster, and the more you know, the more you're able to adjust. And so again, perimenopause is when the cycles are irregular. Late perimenopause means that the cycles are more than maybe 60 days apart and then regular again. Menopause means you don't have a period for more than 12 months. There's different kinds of menopause, though. There can be a surgical menopause where your uterus is removed because of heavy bleeding or fibroids or endometriosis or the like. It can also be, it happens to women who have menopause because of chemotherapy or radiation treatment. Radiation treatment for anal cancer, for example, or chemotherapy for breast cancer. So that menopause can be premature because of what happens to the ovaries. And if there's radiation or chemotherapy, a lot of times it hurts the ovaries so they can't keep making more baby eggs and hormones. Menopause can also happen prematurely because of your genetics. We call this premature ovarian insufficiency, or we call it premature menopause. And that's when some women might at 37 just stop having periods. And it's really important to know, is that because our ovaries are done or anything else is going on? We always want to make sure we check thyroid, we check other hormone levels, and just really understand. Now, to throw a little wrench in here, what can throw people off, especially if they're, let's say, before 35 and periods are changing, it isn't necessarily perimenopause, but there's something very common called PCO or PCOD. And a lot of women relate this to heavy periods, maybe some extra chin hair or acne, maybe difficulty getting pregnant when they want to get pregnant. And this is thought of as an ovary problem. It's really not necessarily an ovary problem. It's an insulin problem. It's a belly fat or high blood sugar or genetic problem that the body isn't metabolically at its best. And so therefore the ovary just kind of checks out and it isn't always doing what it should. So for example, the ovary could keep making estrogen, but it's not necessarily going to make progesterone. So cycles get irregular and symptoms happen. So PCOD is something that we can help women with, and it's really important to see a provider who understands all these hormonal phases to make sure you know what's going on with your body and why, so then you can deal with it. So again, as we talk about the phases of ovarian function, the next step is to think about symptoms. So again, I'm a list girl. I love checklists. And it's really important to think about what's called the MTS. So the MTS is a symptom scale that we use. I'm going to see here if I can share my screen, or Liz, I don't know if you want to be able to share it. But the MTS is a symptom scale that we use that allows people to track their symptoms, whether it be a hot flash or night sweat, or it is energy or weight gain or libido. And so the MTS is a way to track the symptoms, 3 meaning good, 1 meaning bad. And I was able to validate this and publish this in the journal. It's now a peer reviewed, as we say. So it's a published scale that we can use to track. And if you want to, you can go to our website, truewomenshealth.com, and check out the scale. We have a lot of information on YouTube and Facebook, very free content that you can check out and understand the symptom scale even more. So what
Diane, I'm happy to help if you wanted me to share something, but where would I get that from? Or
So I sent it in the email right before we got on. I know you were busy getting on into the site, but if you want to look at that and share it, that'd be cool. Then people can go right to it. But but in talking about symptoms, and again, feel free to ask questions. And if you want me to be more directive about one or the other. So one of the first ones people will ask me about is weight gain, of course. And so weight gain can be so difficult through all phases of life, but especially as our hormones start to change. So what I want you to think about is that as we age and we maybe start to get a bit of belly fat, that is from this insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is just where our blood sugar goes higher with the same food that we could eat when we were 20 and it didn't make our blood sugar go high. So basically, when we're maybe sleep deprived, if we're really stressed out and our cortisol is up all the time and we're just always on high alert, if genetically we're insulin resistant, if our estrogen is low, let's say right before a period, if you notice that maybe you're craving more sugar or you're just hungry all the time, a lot of times it can be because as that estrogen drops right before a period, it can make us a little insulin resistant and it just drives our desire to eat more. And if we do eat sugar at that time, then it's going to go straight to belly fat. So our estrogen levels, our hormone levels will impact how we store sugar and fat and how we crave these different foods. And so as that weight gain happens, just even a little bit, it then makes us more likely to get stuck in that cycle. We know that women, when they go through that menopause transition, let's say from 45 to 53, a lot of women will gain even 5 pounds plus a year. Most women gain 15 pounds in the 3 years around that menopause transition. So again, if you're listening to this and you're way far away from this, is to know that the healthier you are when you get there, the better it will be. So if you have lots of good muscle mass, over 25%, if you have low body fat, under 35%, if you are knowing what it takes to get there, if you understand how your body responds to sugar with certain blood tests that we can certainly talk about, then that can really help you set yourself up for success. So again, it's knowing what is your goal, just to recap. Where are you now? What is hard for you? And how can we use that to figure out how you can solve for your barriers? So again, weight gain can be a really difficult thing because once it starts, it's hard to stop. And for some women especially, it's so in their genes that they get stuck in a hunger cycle. Or if you eat for stress, and when you're overwhelmed or stressed, you tend to eat sugar. Again, once those things start, it's so hard to stop, and menopause can make everything worse. So again, if cravings are an issue, if weight gain is an issue, get it figured out now. Sleep is probably the second thing that women ask me about, and I can't even tell you all that sleep is just so important. And you might say, well, yeah, I get that, but I'm busy. No. So sleep is one of those non-negotiables. And what I've done over time is set an alarm to go to bed. And a lot of women will say, well, it's really hard to fall asleep because I have so much on my mind. You know, if you've got kids, you know that it's so important to give kids wind down time. Or back in the day, how we had wind down time before we'd go to sleep. We need to do that still as adults. Our brain needs time to settle down. Our brain has, our body has clocks, and it's so important to follow that clock and just give ourselves some time. Sleep hygiene is something about, we use that word to describe what you do before you go to bed every night. And one thing I totally recommend, number one is to do some stretching and to think about what you're thankful for right before bed. So for sleep, it's so important, again, to have that wind down time. So we're not thinking of the 20 million things we need to do. We can settle in and we can fall asleep. Now, let's say, like many other women, you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and now you can't get back to sleep. Let's say you wake up and you look at the clock and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. What I want you to do is change that language around in your head. When you wake up at 2 or 3 a.m., I want you to say, oh, I got this. See how that does an energy change? I got this. I'm not going to stress about this. And what I want you to do is right away, get out of bed, go to the bathroom, sit outside the bed, and think about what you're so grateful for you can't even stand it. Focus on your breathing. Let yourself settle. Keep your eyes open so you don't close your eyes and see pictures of all the things that you need to do tomorrow. Feel yourself settle and get back in bed. A lot of times just that little shift can make it that you can get right back to sleep. And if you get back in bed and you're like, well, that didn't work, I want you to get up and do it again. Maybe you sat at your computer all day, or you ran some errands, you saw some customers, and now you're sitting at your computer. You get in bed and now you're stiff. Your hips are stiff, your legs are stiff, your quads are stiff. So it's so important maybe to add stretching to your sleep hygiene before you go to bed, so you're not awakened with that restless leg, because that can just be so hard to get back to sleep. If you have bladder issues, bladder urgency, where you got to get up and pee all the time, it could be interstitial cystitis. It could be just really tight pelvic muscles from you sitting at the computer all day. So if our pelvic floor muscles are really tight, our bladder doesn't have room to expand, and so our pelvic muscles push back. So again, stretching before bed can be critical, that you don't have to get up all night and go to the bathroom. So again, what do women most commonly ask me about? Weight gain, sleep, and then the third, of course, is mood. So mood is a big issue because, a lot of women will say, hey, my life is busy, it's crazy, but, I know that. I've asked for that. I've put myself in a position where I'm very busy and I can't imagine it not. But it's that I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I made this commitment and I don't really feel like doing it. I'm just overloaded, I'm overwhelmed. Maybe you can hold it together for work, but when you get home with your family or your friends, you lose it, or you just don't even want to participate. You're irritable and you just want to be left by yourself. You take a mommy time out, or you revert to coping mechanisms that aren't so healthy. Maybe it's that second glass of wine at night. So it's thinking about how else can we cope. And what I want you to think about is that brain chemical is one of those things that serotonin that helps us feel happy. It helps us cope. And we can run out of serotonin by spending it on all the things that we do if we don't have time to restore. And I want you to think about what else impacts that. So serotonin, again, I want you to think about it like money in the bank. So if you spent all your money, you can't buy stuff. If you spent all your serotonin thinking about all your things for the day, then there's not enough maybe to spend time with your loved ones or really be in a good mood or feel like exercising or all of that. So what happens is that I want you to think about it in a very simplistic way, is that we make our brain chemicals when we sleep. So if you don't sleep, it's going to be really hard to cope with stress. It's hard to still feel motivated. It's hard to not have anxiety. The other thing is genetically, some people make more brain chemicals than others. So you might have a friend who, no matter what happens, she is just always even. Or you have another friend who's always like a feather in a whirlwind. She's just always like, wah, and has anxiety, and it's just really hard for her to cope. Some people just make more brain chemicals than others. And of course, if there's ever a time, medications can be something that can be helpful. Now, we spend brain chemicals on life events, and we also spend more brain chemicals before a period. When our estrogen goes down, our brain chemicals go faster. And so it's really important to know the relationship between estrogen and brain chemicals. And so, for example, women who have postpartum depression, let's just think about this. Postpartum depression is when you're likely sleep deprived, you got a lot of new stuff going on, and your estrogen is at an all-time low. So when you have low estrogen, you're sleep deprived and you're stressed, it's just a setup for the postpartum blues, which happen to 75% of women, but 20% of women will actually get postpartum depression, where it affects their ability to bond with their baby, to interact with their life and the people in their life, and to really feel like themselves and enjoy this time that perhaps they so look forward to, right? So it's really understanding, if you had postpartum depression, it often is a chemical imbalance, but also it puts you at risk for PMS, or what we call PMDD, and it puts you at risk for perimenopause or menopause disturbance. So again, if mood is an issue for you, I want you to think about, what are your risk factors? What impacts that? Always go back to that formula and think about, how can I better take care of myself? But again, we can't fix genetics with sleep or with diet or with meditation. We can make them easier, but we can't fix them. So sometimes medication is needed, even for a short time, or a window in your life where things are really hard. So I hope that's helpful to talk a little bit about those symptoms. And again, it can be really helpful to track those symptoms over time, so you know, hey, I was really stressed. Wow, I could see it in my symptom score. This is a good reminder, I need to check back in. We then want to give women tools in terms of, what is that checklist you can do in terms of feeling better. And we call that the seeds, or the 7 essential elements of daily success. And the seeds is a list that, on our website, we have an ebook that you can go through and read what each one of the seeds are. But basically, the seeds are those 7 things. It's pretty common sense. It's not rocket science, but sometimes we just forget. They're so basic, it seems like they'll just kind of maybe hopefully happen on their own. The first seed is water. We need water for energy. We need water in order to not get hot flashes and night sweats. We need water in order to not feel tired in terms of our muscles being tight, our ability to have power to exercise. We need water. So water is so important when we think about net water. So it's how much water. So it's 80 ounces of water, but if we minus the coffee, then we're left with, let's say, 60 ounces of net. So the goal is 80 net. So if I'm going to have 2 cups of coffee, I'm going to add 2 extra glasses of water. If I'm going to have a glass of wine, it's 1 more glass of water. So it's thinking about constantly making sure we've got that, and we don't end up like the dried up house plant in the corner. We're watering ourselves first. The second is sleep. It's so important to get that 7 hours every night, and to really make that a priority. I'll see women who are gaining weight and doing everything else right, but they're not sleeping. If you're sleep deprived, you're not going to lose weight, or the converse, you're going to gain weight. It's just sleep is so basic. Number three, it's about macronutrients. It's about that balance of carbs, proteins, and fats. And it's so important to have carbs that are really high fiber. So choosing a pear even over an apple, choosing a raspberry over a grape, to making sure we're having carbohydrates that are high in fiber and keep our blood sugar stable. And if we want to build muscle, we got to have protein. And especially that first meal of the day is so important to have that 30 grams of protein. So macronutrients are really critical. And then, of course, healthy fats such as avocado or nuts. And just knowing that, chia seeds are awesome in terms of fiber, but they have a lot of fat. So it's just making sure that okay, I'm going to have 3 servings of fat and I want them to be really heart healthy. It's micronutrients. Any of us living north of Atlanta, we got to have vitamin D after Labor Day, all the way to Memorial Day, because even if it's a sunny day, we're not going to get the D. And I highly recommend a multivitamin, because why not? I don't know if I'm going to get everything in my diet every day, so I'm going to take a multivitamin, because our brain chemicals, our enzymes, everything needs those trace minerals and trace micronutrients. Another is fiber. We want to get 30 to 35 grams a day, not only to keep having regular BMs, to have our bowel movements not be messy so we don't get a bladder infection and are bothered by that, but also fiber is really important to control our blood sugars. If our blood sugars go high and low, it can affect how we feel, but also it can lead to weight gain. So super important to know about fiber. Of course, exercise is one of those key seeds, and we think about aerobic exercise versus strength training and then stretching. And we kind of think about if you can get 3 strength training a week, even 20 minutes a time, 3 aerobics, especially in zone 2, where your heart rate's just about 130, you're breathy and sweaty, but you're not, you can still carry on a conversation. So 3 strength training, 3 aerobic, and 7 stretches, even if it's only 5 minutes a day. And again, that's just the basics. We also think about metered breathing and gratitude. And that's, again, you might do box breathing as your way of calming down. You might do gratitude and just focusing on the sound of the breath through your nose. But whatever it is, it's just really key to taking care of yourself. So, for example, if I'm a little fatigued, if I'm a little moody, if I have a hot flash, I always go back to my seeds. Did I drink my water? Did I get my sleep? And so just to think of that as a checklist of, okay, this is why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. So I can keep rambling on here. Any questions at this time? I see there's still quite a few of you on, which is awesome. And I know we're recording so people can see this after the fact.
No, this is great. I have some questions.
Please.
Of course, and I think this should spark some of your own questions, because it does come back to ourselves, right? So in this stage, right, you're going through the 3 stages: reproductive phase, perimenopause, right?
Yep.
And then menopause. So in the perimenopause, what's the age range to that again? You said 42 to what?
To like 50, 54. I mean, the average age of menopause in the US is like 51.4. So
Okay.
that's the average age. A woman is most likely to go through menopause when her mother did. But a lot of times our moms didn't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she didn't talk about those symptoms. So we just don't always have that knowledge. But again, the average age is, let's say, around 52 of menopause. And
Got
the
it.
average age of starting perimenopause is 42.
42. So, when you think about those 3 stages, right? I'm definitely in the second stage. Doing, in terms of like keeping ourselves, and I'm not having the irregularity yet, but if we just want to be proactive, right? So we can reduce that or just set ourselves up for success, so it's not like this shock when we are in menopause. What are some other ways to take care of ourselves so we can set ourselves up for success? Is it vitamins? Obviously, sleep is, you always know how important it is, but then to be reminded, right, that I love that what you said, we make our brain chemicals when we sleep. Other things that we could be doing, I mean, we can go through each of the stages, but I'm just going to be selfish and say I'm in the middle one. So let's start there. What are other things that we could be doing so we can keep ourselves healthy if we're not having that irregularity?
Sure. So let's say that you're doing your sleep, you're like a 6 out of 10. Your food, a 6 out of 10. Your exercise, you're a 6 out of 10. But you're like, what more can I do?
Yeah.
Exercise is number 1, and it's muscle mass. So truly strength training, however you like to do it. I love to lift weights. But maybe you like to do Pilates with a reformer and you're really with a coach who knows how to add more weight so you're actually building muscle mass. Are you doing yoga where truly it's intense and you're building muscle mass? And again, the proof's in the pudding, right? So make sure you can get a scale, and it's called an impedance scale, IMPEDENCE. There's one brand called Eufy you can get for 25 bucks. You have the scale at home, and what it does is it sends a little current through your body. The current goes faster through fat than muscle. So you can get a fairly accurate sense of what is your body fat percentage and what is your muscle mass percentage. And muscle mass, the goal is to be over 24. Normal is between 24 and 30. And so, I know my body. I know where I can keep my weight off. I feel strong. I love to be a 29 or a 30. And so it's a percentage of lean mass. And so everyone kind of has their, number, but I'll see women who are 20% muscle mass. And I just worry, if they fall down, can they get up? Right? But if you don't have muscle mass, it's just so almost near impossible to keep the weight off during perimenopause. So number one, it's to know your muscle mass, and know in terms of where your diet might be lacking. But again, it's that strength training is critical. And to build muscle, then, so it's strength training. Number two, if weight gain is an issue, it's that zone 2. It's staying in that heart rate where you're breathy, you're sweaty, you could carry on a conversation, but maybe not complete sentences. It's to do that at least 90 minutes a week. So in terms of exercise, it's strength training and zone 2.
Okay. I love that. And real quick, the system, you said what kind of scan is it? Is it almost like a weight,
it's a scale.
Scale. It's like a type of,
it's a scale. And it's able to, again, send that little curve through and just be able to tell you your body fat versus your muscle mass. And you can get $25 ones, you can get $250 ones, which we have here in the office, and you can get $2,000 ones, which we have one of those in the office. So it just depends on, the degree of accuracy, but they're accurate enough to get a good sense.
That's great.
And people might have a trainer in town that are able to do that for them as well.
I love that. And we're getting a couple more questions. So this is great. Please,
awesome.
Ladies, be as selfful as you can, because this is such a treat to have you here. So the anonymous attendee, we don't know your name, but that's okay. We wish we did. I love names, but she's asking, isn't HTR part of solution to all this? The eating, the exercise routine, the sleep don't change from 30s to 40s to 50s. The hormones do. So why just advise us to change our behavior to fix a hormone problem?
Yeah.
HTR is, I guess, hormone.
HRT, hormone replacement therapy. And the new acronym we're using now is MHT, menopause, MHT, I have to learn it myself, menopause hormone therapy. So again, when we use hormones, we're not doing them to maybe replace what your body made, but it's to give you enough to feel normal, in terms of how you feel normal. So in terms of, the hormone problem. So where I would go next is then thinking about, okay, do you still have a symptom that isn't fixed by behavior? And I am a certified menopause provider. I'm all about the hormones. But again, it's knowing when to use them, how to use them, and what makes most sense. So for example, as a certified menopause provider, I prescribe estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and we do this using bioidentical products, but are FDA approved. So the problem is that for years, we docs in traditional medicine dropped the ball, and a lot of hormone medicine was done by people using compounded medications. And there's always maybe a small role for compounded medications, but again, we have now bioidenticals that are FDA approved. And for example, let's say a woman in her late 30s has early perimenopause, and she's having night sweats the night before periods, and she's having more mood disturbance. Yes, for example, maybe, and she's having heavy periods. So we'll use the bioidentical progesterone which is essentially, think about it like weed killer. It makes the lining of the uterus thinner so there's not as much to fall off. So that can help with the periods. It can help with sleep. It can help with mood. But also we might even use a patch that lasts for 3 days of bioidentical estrogen to help with the night sweats and the mood change. So again, it's knowing how to do that in a way that's very safe and also very effective. And anonymous attendee, I love your question in the sense too, we don't want to set the bar low. I want you to set the bar high. This isn't, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to just get through. And it's really, again, having that personalized approach where what I would say is a healthy lifestyle is the foundation. I can give a woman hormones all day long, but she's still going to have symptoms if she doesn't drink her water, if she doesn't get her sleep, if she eats sugar all day, if she's having 2 or 3 glasses of wine at night. All the hormones in the world don't matter. But the hormones are more likely to work and more likely to be effective if her lifestyle is healthy to start with. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Rebecca says, what is your opinion regarding hormone pellets implants for women? So hormone pellets are compounded. And actually, I feel fairly strongly about hormone pellets as being not safe because what happens is the dose levels can become very high. So once a pellet goes in. It's in your muscle for 3 months. I can't get it back out. And so what happens is that those hormones often, the levels become very high. So for example, testosterone can be given in a pellet. And I'll have women who come in who got testosterone pellets, and initially they loved it as the levels were going up. They had more drive, they had more sex drive, they had more vaginal lubrication. Life was good. But as that pellet level increases in their blood, it can cause hair growth, it can cause baldness, and it can cause anger, and it can cause the clitoris to grow. Not a good look, unless that's what you're going for. Or, we're not talking today about gender identity and gender transition, which I respect and support, but personally, just that's not my area of specialty. But in terms of treating either cis, trans women or cis women, it's looking at what are those hormone levels that help us feel normal. And so again, hormone pellets are just way too hard to monitor. And again, they're compounded. They're not FDA approved. They're not FDA monitored. We don't always know what's in them. And More Magazine did an incredible article back in 2014 that looked at compounded products, sent them to an independent lab, and found that there was between 0 and 1,000% of what was supposed to be in there. So as a doc, I sleep at night knowing that the patch or the pill or the cream or the whatever I give you is FDA approved, and what is said on the box is in the product. So I hope that helps. Melatonin can be a good sleep aid, but it's best for women who, let's say, you're traveling, you're switching time zones. What I'm just fascinated about is every cell in our body has a clock, and melatonin is that signal to our cells, it's time to go to sleep. And so it can be helpful, especially if you're changing time zones. Even our liver has a clock. If we eat at night and our liver is like, dude, it's time to be sleeping, then our liver will put those calories into fat. It's like, I can't spend those right now, I'm sleeping. So if you feed mice during the day, they become obese and diabetic, right? So if we eat at night when we're supposed to be sleeping, our liver clocks are like, you're not doing this right, and I'm just going to put it in fat. So there. So melatonin, again, back to our clocks. Melatonin can be helpful as a sleep aid. If it's not hurting, it's not going to, if it's helping you, great. It's not going to hurt you, but it is most effective again for women on shift changes or on time zone changes. Thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate that. Alexis, are animal-based proteins or plant-based proteins superior for women's health? So again, I fall back on a colleague, Dr. Peter Attia just wrote a book called Outlive, and he brings these experts on his podcast called The Drive. So I want to give credit where credit's due. There's an incredible lecture by Don Layman. He's an expert in muscle synthesis or muscle growth. He has done a lot of research in animals and in humans. And so he fed animals stuff and saw what happened. He feeds people stuff and sees what happened. So, what he'll say is that, people who choose a vegetarian protein-based diet, is they can build muscle, but they'll never build the same muscle that someone who is eating an animal-based protein will do, because it's not just about getting protein or amino acids in our system. It's about having the right amount and the right quality to actually trigger. There's a trigger process that happens, which I was just blown away. And so again, what we need for as women as we age is muscle mass. And to have really good muscle mass, it is likely that we really actually do need animal protein. We're likely never to get the same muscle mass based on a vegetarian-based diet that we will on an animal-based diet. Now, any animal protein essentially is good. It has those 3 key amino acids that we need to trigger muscle. So is it eggs? Is it milk? Is it dairy? Again, it's looking at sugar content, fat content, what your gut tolerates, all of that. I prefer my protein from fish and from eggs. And I also do a whey protein shake. That's what I choose. That's what I prefer. That's what works for me. So again, it's really knowing what works for you. But there's a lot of data, again, presented by Dr. Lehman, is that if we get that 30 grams of protein or more at the first time that we take food in. So there's intermittent fasting, there's whatever, again, whatever works for you, but it's that first time you eat in the day to make sure you're getting more than 35 grams of protein. So Alexis, I hope that helps. Suzanne.
Interesting.
Is it okay to stay on birth control into your 50s if you're avoiding hot flashes? So Suzanne, it certainly can be. Yaz is nice. Any birth control, it turns off your ovaries and it just gives you a little bit of estrogen and progesterone back. The problem with a birth control pill is that it's synthetic. So it's synthetic estrogen, which is not as good for bones as bioidentical estrogen that you might get from a patch. The progesterone in a birth control pill is synthetic. It's not great for bones, not great for blood pressure, not great for kidneys over time. It does increase breast density. So I'm not saying that it increases breast cancer, but we know that breast density is a very strong risk factor for breast cancer. So synthetic progesterone over the years. The other thing is a lot of women, it causes depression, anxiety. And so I'll have women who come in and say, I'm really having anxiety issues, and they're on the birth control pill. We get them off the pill. They still need family planning or birth control. And so I'll offer an IUD instead. And so we get those synthetic hormones out of their blood. And they're like, oh my God, I didn't know I could feel so good. An IUD that has progesterone in it, most of the progesterone does not go in your blood. So it's not double dipping. It's having that birth control, having that IUD in your uterus. So now you can have no bleeding and birth control, but you don't have those hormones in your system. In terms of treating hot flashes, we have other things for that. Number one, of course, healthy lifestyle. But then when you're in that phase, it would be to know, excuse me, I was going to hiccup. It's to know what is safe for you. Is it safe to take a patch? Is it safe to take an estrogen pill? Excuse me, what is safe for you? And of course, if you want to come see us at True, that's awesome. But again, it's all about finding a certified menopause provider in your area. And the website is menopause.org, that you can go and find a certified menopause provider. The problem is there's 60 million of all of you, and there's only 1,200 certified menopause providers in the United States. We're working to get that number up. But, you know, a lot of times as an OBGYN, I wasn't trained. So it's just to make sure that you're asking those questions of your provider. How do you know this? Are you giving me recommendations based on evidence-based, or do you have opinions, or was it how you were taught? So it's really making sure that you're getting top-notch knowledge from someone who can offer you what's called informed consent. Here are the options, here's the treatment. So I hope that was helpful. Elizabeth D, can you discuss postmenopause calcium need more for osteopenia, here bad for heart? So Elizabeth, great question. So calcium, number one, we need 1,200 milligrams a day, and I'd much rather you get it in your diet than in a pill. And if you were to add up the calcium in your diet between dairy, leafy greens, $10 you probably get enough. And if not, you could add a Tums or two before you go to bed. But most people get plenty in their diet, so I would just ask you to look that up. The thing about calcium in the heart, so us women, we do heart disease different than guys. We store plaque in the walls of our vessels. We don't store plaque initially in the lumen or in the tube of our vessels. And once that plaque gets in there, we put calcium around it. But here's the deal. Even if we don't have a lot of calcium in our diet, we'll pull it out of our bones and put it in that plaque. So the goal is to not have plaque. It's not to avoid having calcium. So please, that's been disproven in terms of too much calcium can cause heart disease. What causes heart disease is high blood sugar, menopause, belly fat, poor sleep, family history, high cholesterol. And so there's a test called the CAC, a coronary artery calcium score. It's a CAT scan of the heart that looks for that plaque in the wall. So again, I would ask you to reduce and mitigate your risk for heart disease. Don't worry about your calcium.
I love that.
So I hope
Thank you.
These are great questions. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no, these are great questions. You know, with everything, there's always great takeaways, and there's so much wealth of knowledge you're sharing with us. I'm writing a bunch of ideas, stuff, things I need to do. You know, with every webinar we do for everyone that's on is to choose one, right? Choose one action step, choose one takeaway. And before we do that, Diana, please put your website in the chat box so we can ensure, you know, in terms of the resources you should. I know that you sent us some information. I don't know why I haven't gotten that from Gabriella yet, but we will definitely, oh, perfect. That would be great. Yep. So please everyone check that out. There's some wonderful resources.
And yeah, we have lots too on Facebook, and, you know, our goal is to reach as many women as possible and to raise the bar for all. And so we have a ton on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page. We do Facebook Live, and here at True, I'm blessed to work with Suzanne, who's our PA, who specializes in functional medicine and breast cancer risk reduction, as well as Dr. Egan, who's internal medicine and board certified in obesity medicine and treats patients even too with lipedema. So again, we love our team, and we hope that more people around the country can find a team like us or find us, and, you know, really know that you got to set the bar high.
Yeah. Let's go with this last question, and then we can, but I'd like everyone on the call as we wrap to think about your one takeaway. I think I know what I'm going to do. But here's what
I'm reading it.
Okay, got it.
So you don't have to. I've always enjoyed exercise and eating healthy and been a healthier person, but my body will not let me lose the 10 pounds I gained with each of my two kids. Kids at 34 and 36, now I'm 45. Spent so much time and energy trying to get my body back, and won't happen. Could this be genetic? So first of all, we'll call you AA, anonymous attendee. So, you know, first of all, it's just so hard. For number one, I would want to know, what is your muscle mass? So if your muscle mass is below 24, it's just really hard to not get out of that insulin resistance cycle. And then, you know, again, it sounds like you're doing everything well with water, with sleep and everything. So let's say truly your muscle mass is high, and your blood sugar, your A1C is normal. Sometimes it's even helpful. I have a CGM on right now, so it's tracking my blood sugars. And if blood sugars are less than 120, then I know it's not going to get pushed to fat. So we can do a little deeper dive with all of that. But having said all of that, some people truly are just stuck in storage mode. So there's gates in the liver that control where our calories go. And if you're so stuck where you are putting your calories into fat and you can't get those gates to close to fat and open, then sometimes that's where a medication would come in. So hopefully you get a sense of me, very holistic. We prefer whole food and, of course, not medication if you don't need it, but all progress is not bad, right? And we can't fix genetics with lifestyle, as you have said. So that's when medications can be helpful, even maybe for a short time. Is it that your appetite is just insatiable? You know, there's medicines like Contrave. If you're stuck in storage mode, then that's where the injectables can come into place with the Wegovy and the Ozempic. If you're pre-diabetic, for sure, your gates are stuck in the storage mode, and that's where we can help with an injectable medication. So those are not medications I prescribe, but my partner, Dr. Egan, who's board certified in obesity medicine. And again, just a quick plug, it's so important to know, if you're going to choose to use injectable medications, you use FDA approved medications. The compounded meds, just like hormones, we don't trust, and they're not safe, and they're not the same type as the injectables. So they have not been studied, and we don't know. So, you know, the other thing, of course, is hormones. So if your estrogen's low, you're going to be more insulin resistant. So maybe a little long-winded. So sorry, Liz, I think there's 4 minutes left.
That's great. No, and I'd love for everyone to share their biggest takeaway, the one action that you're going to take as a result of all the great insight, Diana, that you've shared with us. For me, I'll share just personally, I run a lot, and I love running, but I'm not strength training enough. And I actually like it. I did some what's it called? Not push-ups. What's it called? Not triceps.
Yep.
What are these? Biceps. I was working my biceps here at this conference. I'm like, I miss doing this. So for me, I really want to start either 2 or 3 days a week, even 1 day a week, right? Small steps, doing more strength training. So what the scale, Melanie, you're going to order the
Melanie,
scale.
that's awesome. Yay.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Very cool, Melanie. That's really, really important to do.
And for you, Liz, strength training, huge. Good job. Like, it's just so critical.
Yeah, I think for me that the running is like almost therapy. It's like my sweat therapy. So that's why I think strength training, I don't get that same enjoyment, but hearing you, I'm like, I got to start doing that.
Oh my God, I got killed this morning at the gym. So I go to the gym once a week, and and then I lift twice a week at home. I use the Peloton app for lifting at home. Adrian will kick your butt. You will get your sweat therapy. So go to the Peloton app. It's $12 a month, and they're not paying me to say this. I love Adrian. He will kick your butt. So I don't want to hear about lack of sweat therapy once you've done a total body with Adrian. So talk to me next.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And we're getting some really good follow-ups, and drink lots more water. Yeah.
I see you love Jess Sims. Good for you. I think it's hilarious. They've created such a community. I love Adrian, Matt Wilpers. I've actually done a class in studio with Matt, and did a class also with Cody. So I prefer Alex T online. He's my favorite. So anyways, so fun. Drink lots more water. Good job, Angela.
But you're bringing such great point up. It's really helpful to do this with others. And that's really why the investor community exists. That's why we're doing all the things that we're doing, so that we can keep growing ourselves, growing our businesses, growing our wealth, and doing it in a way that serves us, right? Serves our bodies, serves our mind, and we can keep living a long life to enjoy and reap the benefits. So take that action step. Please share in our Facebook community, what you're doing, how you're doing it, because self-care is literally the foundation. And Diana, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing.
I'm just smiling at all these comments. Just gives me shivers. And I really appreciate the comments. Thank you. It's I just love what I do. I'm blessed I get to do it. And I hope this helped.
Yes. And please check out, I'm going to put it, actually you sent it to the host and the panelists. I'm just going to put this in the chat box for everybody. But Dr. Bitner's her book, her resources are phenomenal. The thing that's the
symptom circle.
Yeah, that was amazing. I love that. I need my own. That was awesome. She's got.
So you can actually go to it on the website and twirl it. So it talks about what symptoms, what you can do to make them worse, and what you can do to make them better.
It's just phenomenal. So we just so appreciate you. Please check out all her resources. Thank you so much for all your time. And everyone, do your action step. Do something with what you learned. That is why we are here live with you. And we're going to be doing a lot more with you, Diane. I'm excited, and
Great job,
more to come.
Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.